Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, to the big mystery, to beyond the veil, to those mystical moments and those surprises and moments of awe, and also those moments of, oh crap, I don't want this, and then shaking the fist at the divine kind of stuff, So we share all the stories here because it's all relevant. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird, and I love these conversations. They help to give me a new perspective, to open up to my life's journey, that there's another way to see it. There's another viewpoint. There's another aspect. And that can really make me curious. And I think curiosity is much more helpful than judgment. And it just helps me to navigate things better. So I love to have these conversations. I invite you to have these conversations with me every week. And if you're interested in going deeper and really becoming curious about your own life journey and what's going on, what's happening, and what are my soul guides and all that kind of stuff, then just check me out at carriehummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And I have a thing called Butterfly Circle you might be interested in because, butterfly is one of my mascots and it's all about transformation, baby. It's all about transformation. So if you're into that, check me out. Today, we're going to have a very good conversation. I've been on a broadcast with these two fine ladies that are here in the Fox Den. I've been with them in their Fox Den, and I'm almost afraid to show you guys, but I'm going to try to show you anyway. I'm going to show you my own fox. There's my fox.
Nice.
There's my
fabulous.
fox.
That is fabulous.
You have us both there. You have Gina on your shirt and you have me behind you, the butterfly.
I got the butterfly. Oh gosh, I got both of you. That's why I love you guys so much. So we got Mama D, who is a butterfly woman, and we got Gina, who's down there with our foxy queen.
That's right. Well, I'm known as the parafox. I'm more in the paranormal community as to what I work with, but I interview a lot, and I've always, it's metaphysical paranormal, but paranormal is more my background, metaphysical is more Mama's background, but we both have our spirit guides, and there they are. The fox and the butterfly are our main ones. Like you said, you have more than one, I have more than one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's say a little bit about Mama D. So Mama D has had a pretty interesting journey and communicated with angels since being a very young child, and recall sitting in church and having the angels come and being enthralled with them. We're going to find out more about that. We want to hear about that. And she does all kinds of really interesting things, been out of the spiritual closet for 6 years or so, and has Reiki 1 and 2, which is such a powerful to be healing with other people, using energy to heal. So we're going to hear about Mama D's journey. And Gina Bengtson is an interior designer, artist, tool belt diva. Woo!
I like that.
I like that too. And multi-business owner. She's highly empathic and intuitive, the para fox, as the fox is her spirit guide. And she fancies herself as a seasoned paranormal investigator and cast member of Ghost Detectives TV, which is a local Pennsylvania network show. So those of you who like the paranormal and like to really do all that stuff, she is a co-owner of Ghostly Excursions with Bob Christopher, ghost hunts and events, and takes some people to the most haunted locations in the U.S. So we're going to hear a little bit about that too, because that is juicy. And these two ladies, they lead the Fox Den, which is a beautiful show that happens every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. So for those of you in California, it's much earlier. You can get there at 6 p.m. So let's find out more about, so who wants to start? Who wants to tell us, who wants to go first? And okay, so you're pointing to the left, but Gina's down below on my screen. So Gina, you go ahead. You tell us.
It's really, really great to be here. We totally enjoyed having you on our show, and it's rare that we connect with people so much as we did with you, especially because you have both of our spirit guides with you, like I said. But for me, I've always been into the paranormal, liking it, knowing about it, wanting to learn about it. However, being an interior designer, it wasn't really, it was frowned upon. You know what I mean? So people be like, huh, I'm like, yeah, don't tell me that when you're not renovating a house that something's not going on, because it is.
Yeah. You can feel the energy, right? Like you can feel the energy of unhealed spaces.
Exactly. And people will always be like, oh, well, I don't believe in the paranormal. I don't believe in ghosts, but this happened. There's always a but. you know, but
Yeah.
this
but
happened.
this happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Heard lots
okay,
of those.
but you don't believe. Okay. But I finally decided to let that all go and really pursue getting into the paranormal. And once I did, and once I found out all about the equipment and everything and how you can actually record these things, wow, that is like a whole new world opened up to me, like proof of what I already knew existed. So it was really, really cool. And I have got so much evidence, you know, it's just, you can't tell me that it doesn't exist because I just have too much saying that it does, you know. And people will be like, well, I go into paranormal research to prove these things, but, you know, I can't really definitively say. Well, you know what? I can. If I have 15 apparitions walking on a FLIR thermal camera, and there's no one in that room, and there's no way to get in and out of that room, then tell me, you know, what is that then? So, you know, it's things like that, you know, definitive, you know, class A EVPs and things like that that I've gotten so many of over the years that I just know that it's there. But then what happened to me was I had a near-death experience. I broke a collarbone, and I took too many of the pain pills. So I was actually accidentally overdosing and dying. And I had this whole episode, this thing floating down a hallway, realizing that I was dying, all this kind of stuff. And it's a big, long story, so I really won't get into all the details. But I realized I was dying and brought myself back, you know, screaming, finally, I don't want to die, and got slammed back into my body. And I felt it, you know. And ever since then, I could hear, you know, what I was filming and stuff, and it was like a whole new experience. So then that opened another set of doors that I get kind of afraid of, you know, because I get used to one thing, like I want to use my equipment, and I don't want to trust, you know, me being equipment, if you understand what I'm saying, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I worked with a psychic medium from Staten Island. You know, we used to teach paranormal 101 and psychic development and all this, and he'd be like, well, why don't you learn? Because I don't want to. I'm afraid to. I don't want that, you know. I like doing what I'm doing. I like to be able to turn it off, you know, my little piece of equipment to turn off. But would I be able to turn me off? I don't know. So I try not to develop that, but you get to a point where it's going to happen regardless, you know. So you see things and you hear things, and you're either going to acknowledge it or you're going to say, not now. You know,
So when you hear things, what is it like? Like somebody's just speaking right in your ear or in your mind, or what do you?
Sometimes. It's more, well, how it started and still is, tones. You know, if I'm in a room or if I'm walking in a location, say, and I'm bringing, because for ghostly excursions, we take people to haunted locations. Say I'm walking into a big asylum and I have a bunch of people, and this is their first time, and I hear these tones. If spirits or a spirit or spirits come in, I can hear low, medium, or a high tone. If it's a high tone or a medium tone, I'm okay with it. It's cool. It's a higher being. It's someone. It's okay. You know, it's not anyone that's going to hurt you. It's a lower tone, and I get that, you know, sense of
The creepy
foreboding.
feeling.
Yeah, the back, you know, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, all that kind of stuff. I'll be like, well, you know, maybe we want to go this way, and I'll steer people away from that area, you know, and then kind of in my mind tell that thing to stay away, you know. So it's interesting, but you know, no two places are the same, no two spirits are the same, no two gifts are the same for people, you know, that work in this field. But it's just really fascinating. It's really interesting, and I love it. You know?
It is fascinating. So Mama D, when you started hearing angels, it's the same kind of topic, right? Like you were like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing this and nobody else is seeing it. So what was that like for you?
Well, I was raised a good little Catholic girl, and we used to go to catechism class, and I was an altar girl and tried not to ring the bells when I wasn't supposed to. But I would be in the priest would be teaching us stuff, and I would just sort of be off in my own world and not paying attention to what I was supposed to be learning. And it was like, Darlene, are you here? Yes, I'm here. But I can't say, because I had to shut it off for a long time in my life, I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do know that the connection was there, because I still, I don't go to church. I mean, I pass by a church and I'm drawn to it only because I know that's where I started my voyage. But
so how does it how does it unfold for you now?
Well, let's put it this way. In 2012, you know, when everybody was saying, "Oh my God, the world's coming to an end," and even then, I kind of knew it's coming to an end as we know it. I sort of reopened to spirit. My daughter sat me down and said, "Mom, I've got to talk to you. I don't want you to say anything until I'm done." And in our household, that meant it's a very important subject. Sit down, shut up. And she told me how she connected to spirit. And then when conversation was done, she says, "Okay, now you can lock me up and put me in a rubber room." And I just took a second and I said, "You know what? If I put you there, I'll have to be there with you." Because it just sort of opened up things for me again. It gave me permission to know that it was okay to do this again, because I wasn't going to scare the garbage out of my children. The boys, I don't know, but my daughter is like, she's my first and my most favorite. Okay, I said it out loud. But it just sort of started from there. And I went into a spiritual store, and the woman at the counter, she just sort of watched me wander around, and she didn't know me from anything. And she came up to me when I came up to the cash. She says, "Are you okay with getting messages?" And I'm like, "Yep, I'm open to it." And she gave me a message, and she didn't know who it was giving me the message, but I knew it was my dad, because he had passed. But it's the words. See, the woman was French Canadian. My father was English Canadian, and there's a different way things are said. And she was coming up with words that nobody but my father could come up with. This was not in her vocabulary. And since then, she has become a very, very dear friend of mine. And it just connects. It just works.
So
I
how
know
does it,
things.
so you just know, so that how it works for you is just a knowing, like you just know things.
Exactly. I won't hear and I don't see, but I'll sit down if I'm doing a reading for somebody. Cards are my tool of choice. And I will go with oracle cards and or tarot cards, but I still read them the same way. The cards is what starts the conversation. And it's like I always put it, my connection, my spirit guides are connecting with your spirit guides. They're having a conversation and they're dealing the cards. They're telling you what you need to know, because we don't always get what we want to know. We get what we need to know. You know, it's like sometimes you don't want to hear that, but you're going to hear it anyway, because spirit thinks and the universe thinks that you need to hear that. So that's how I go.
So what's your sense of, I guess a question for both of you, because Gina mentioned the different tones, like the different vibrations, the different tones. So like there's kind of, we are making the assumption, but I believe it's like there's like kind of lower vibrational beings that are maybe operating in some more density and some unresolved things, maybe some traumas that they're still processing. There's like, you know, the higher level ones or the mid level, and the higher ones would be like, I would think the angels. But like, what's your sense of it? Like, what's out there? What's your sense of what's out there, and what's your sense of who you're interacting with when you're doing readings or you're going into a space for paranormal investigation?
Well, I don't do paranormal investigation. I leave that to Gina. I'm going to get there eventually, but but for me, when I get shivers, when somebody comes into my area and I get shivers, that means that there's somebody there, there's spirit there. And then it just sort of flows. But when I get this throbbing pain here, I know it's somebody who's got a lot of issues coming through. Now, whether it's because they left stuff behind that they haven't finished, or it's just a butthead, that I know the negative, because
To be
it's
quite
like,
frank.
exactly. It's not a pain in my butt, but it's a pain in my head. And it's like, I'll know that there's something heavy coming. Now, whether it's negative or not, to me, I won't know until each thing happens. But I can tell it's a heavy issue that's coming through.
How does it show up for you, Gina, when you go into a space to do paranormal investigation?
All different. It's all different. Even in my house, because I've got spirits roaming around here. You take them home whether you want to or not. You tell them to stay, but they kind of come with you. But they're all different. But what you said is basically true. If the higher tone, it's more like an angelic or a spirit guide or something like that, coming in. the medium tones. The way I see it, it's like this. There's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is someone who just passed away. A spirit is someone who's like crossed over and come back, you know, and the spirit is more knowing, knowledgeable. It's like, okay, they're forgiven. They've seen everything. They know everything. They can come back. They can actually become a spirit guide to someone, you know. So there are people beings on the other side, and then there are the spirits that have never been people, you know, elementals and things like that. Those have never been people. They're a different realm and a different tone and a different feeling, and you don't really come across them as much. But the lower ones, those are people, you know, that have passed, that are afraid to cross over, that are angry, that are, you know, all the human emotions are still like front and foremost with them, whether it's been, you know, fear or jealousy or anger or lust or greed or whatever, you know, whatever's holding them, or if they did something horrific and they think they're not going to be forgiven on the other side, so they try to stay away from it, or they, you know, can't let go of someone that they were tormenting, you know. So it like I said, they're all different. Every case is different. Every spirit is different. But I've run across so many different kinds. You know, like I went to a place one time, and this is crazy. It was a friend of mine, a dear close friend of mine, and he worked doing sound at a place called I'm going to say it with my accent, the Dark Horse, right? But the Dark Horse restaurant. All right. And they had a restaurant area and then a music area. And he did the sound production for the music area. Now, a friend of his used to live with him, a woman who always went there, and she was always like really high strung girl screaming at the crowd and, you know, this kind of stuff. Well, she passed away. Now she was, you know, living in his house. I would go into his house and I could only stay there for maybe 20 minutes because the sound was killing me. It was it was as if someone took the squelch on a stereo and turned it way up, and it's like, I'm like, you can't hear that, you know. I gotta go, you know, I just can't stay there. And then I did this investigation to find out who this was, and found out that this was this girl. So I was just explaining to her. Now he's sitting down the hall, which is actually quite a ways away. He's sitting down the hall, and I'm explaining to this girl that I'm gonna go, and I figure because she's so frantic that I'm gonna need help to maybe cross her over. And all I did was explain to her what was going to happen, and that, you know, yes, you can go, and that, yes, all these things that, you know, you were worried about, because Chris had told me about what things that she was worried about before, issues with her family and everything, and all this stuff got straightened out. So I'm trying to tell her this. All these things are smoothed out. All your estate is handled. Everything is okay. You can move on. There is a better place. All this stuff. And then all of a sudden, it was like, boom, she left. And it was like from me going crunched like this, feeling like I'm in something getting squished, to like I can stand up. It was silent, and it was like someone turned that squelch all the way off, and he felt it all the way down the hall, and he just went, what the hell just happened? I'm sorry about my language, but that's what he said.
It's okay.
You know, and and I said, oh my God, she left, you know, just like that. And then I could stay there, you know, and then I was just like, I was fine in the house. He goes, wow, I never realized that sound, you know, because he lived there, that was his everyday life, and he had no clue, you know. And he's like,
that's
wow,
so powerful.
yeah, and he's standing taller, I'm standing taller. It was just like, yeah, it was quite miraculous, you know. But
Yeah, that is
frantic.
powerful.
Oh, it's just, you know, and that was just one real crazy energy, because I guess she was really like that. I never met her in person. You know, I'm just going by all the stories that everyone told me.
Well, when people go through these hard things, you know, when they go through a life that's unresolved and they die suddenly, like unexpectedly, it's really traumatic. I've had a couple of house clearings where I've gone in because things have happened, and really traumatic things. And I've gone in and for a woman's friend and helped her soul to process, because she was caught in like a death loop. Like the thing happened and she was just caught in the loop on it, like kept going, reliving the experience over and over and over again, and then coming up and going, what happened? Where am I? Where is everybody? How come you can't hear me? And then going back into the cycle, and it was traumatic. And so that's what, I've been trained how to work with my guides who are in between, like they're like spirit guides and medicine people in between the realms, right?
Right.
But then I open up sacred space and I invite them to come in. Okay, help her go beyond the veil. And then you can come back around. I don't really know what that means, but I just know that I say that and that makes sense. Like you come out, you have to go through the veil, and then you can come back around a different way. And then you're a spirit guide.
And you're enlightened. Yes.
I don't know what the way is, but I just know you
can. You're enlightened. Yeah. Yes. Because, well,
it's come back around.
It's the fear that they can't come in and see their loved ones. They don't know what's on the other side, you know, and their people are still here on earth, so they don't want to leave them.
But they have to cross through this veil in order to get back
Exactly.
around to the other side where they're actually spirit guides instead of ghosts. And if you stay here too long without crossing through the veil after you've passed, you actually can get dark. Like it's almost like the more light you lose light or something, and you get darker and darker and darker and more like you turn, you know, you kind of turn somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just what I've noticed. Like you lose your
have
humanness or something.
Well, you know, the other thing is, and I've gotten this a lot.
I just creeped myself out.
with recorders, you know, like I'll go into these really dark places and I'll just kind of, they know that we're going to be recording them. They know that we're coming to talk to them and stuff like that.
They psychically know. They're already tuned in. They know when you're going to show up.
Yeah. So I'll just leave a recorder here and there, like nonchalantly, you know, and walk away and talk to the client or the person or the, you know, people or whatnot, and try to do this on the slide, trying to, you know, dupe the spirits. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know. But you listen to them. You listen to this recording later. And it's amazing. Some of the stuff I've heard, the conversations that they have with each other. So based upon that, I know that the ones that are dark that are here, they're going to be like trying to get those people to stay with them because they don't want to be alone either, you know. So they're going to try to keep you on this side as opposed to letting you go to the light. So sometimes you have to drag these people out of these situations and saying, you know, that guy doesn't need to hold you here, or that woman doesn't need to hold you here. You know, whatever power that they're putting on you isn't real, you know, and you got to convince them. It's like being a counselor. You got to, if you're going into a house, it's like being a counselor for the people in the spirit. You see if they can live together, or if they can't, one or the other has to go.
Yeah, it makes sense. What are you thinking, Mama D, about all this? What's coming up for you with the work that you do?
I think that I just can't wait to go investigating with Gina.
Number one. That sounds fun.
Once Corona has run its course, I need to get, because I'm in Canada and she's in the States. I know almost where she is, so I'll be down there eventually. But yeah, I also believe that if, like you said, when people stay here too long, they start to get dark. You kind of look at it as if they're in a room. You know, you can only stay in a room for so long when they go around in circles so many times before you want to, you know, bang on walls and doors and say, hello, let me out. So it's the same type of thing with spirit, you know. And yes, I agree with Gina when she says there's a difference between ghost and spirit. And some people think, oh, it's all the same thing, but it's not. It's like, you know, there's different people. There's different spirits. There's different things in the universe that are out there.
Amen.
Yeah, that's so true. I've talked to many healers because I do healing work, and I've talked to many healers, and I've talked to some healers that have had some really interesting negative experiences of doing healings and then having energies come and, you know, get out around them and stuff like that. And I've definitely had my share of like having initiations where I've had to overcome certain energies that were a little more negative, and I had to, you know, exert my will and my faith and to kind of change that situation and move them out of my space and someplace else, or, you know, up in reprocessing centers with the angels.
So, yeah.
You know, send this one to the light and reprocess you to the center, to up there with Archangel Michael and such. So I've definitely had to kind of reach for the upper guides to support me in doing that work. And also, you know, but I haven't had like some of the negative experiences a lot of people have with doing healings. And one day I got really curious about that, and I was like, how come I I just have a really easy time with these healings. And my
they won't
guides were
allow
like,
it.
because we keep you on the rainbow bridge. Like, you never get off the rainbow bridge. You are always on it. You don't venture off and go down these little tunnels and go like investigate all these things. You stay, and I have to admit, Gina, like, I stay on the rainbow bridge because I'm such a chicken shit. Like, I don't want to know what's out there, you know? Like,
I know.
I only
My
want to
curiosity, my curiosity gets me into trouble sometimes. I'll tell you.
because
The
there's a
first,
lot out there. It's
there is.
not all
There is.
pleasant.
But, you know, I figure I'm not afraid of it. And that's my job, I figure, you know, and especially like on Ghost Detectives, my very first episode filming, I got in trouble because something happened and an energy went around the room. We were all there. There was only one camera though. And we were all there and this thing was going around. And actually this girl was tethered to me with headphones. So we were splitting headphones and a recorder. And so this thing comes around and went by us. We felt it go by us and it entered into one of our teammates. Now, there's a whole bunch of people that went outside with her. Now, I'm an investigator, and I'm like the bravest one of the bunch, I have to say. I'm like, I want to stay and find out what this was, what happened, what, you know, I want to investigate. That's my thing. Well, the cameraman investigated with me and didn't go out with them, so I got in trouble for that. But I mean, I'm like, for me, that's my job. I'm supposed to be doing this. This is why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Well, for camera and film, it's a different story. So filming, like for Ghost Detectives and regular ghost hunting, is completely different. Completely different.
How is it different?
Because you have to set up camera shots, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to wait for people, you know, and I just want to go in and investigate. I'm a good investigator. I get great evidence. I talk, I communicate with the spirits. I'm respectful to the spirits. And when I feel that this is the time I need to talk, if I wait, it's going to be gone. That moment's
because
gone.
they don't hang around. Like,
exactly.
That's the thing.
They're not like, you know, okay, well, you know, this one has to
Spirit
walk by the
doesn't know
camera.
your work schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you know. So for me, filming like for TV is difficult. So, you know, God bless them people that do it on TV and they get a film for 3 weeks before they get an hour's worth of show. It's ridiculous, you know.
Well, you know what's interesting is that just that idea of how diverse the spirit world is, and that explains why probably some people have gotten afraid because they maybe used a Ouija board and then like got in touch with something that was a little darker or malevolent or upset or been in the dark too long, right? Like been in that room going in circles for too long and is really upset, you know, and wants to get out, you know, and it's like, let me out, you know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we don't know what to do to help you. Like, it's actually a training, you know, like you have to learn. Like, I've only learned through doing the energy medicine training how to support spirits and receiving help if they want it. But just like most people, like there's a lot of people on this planet, this is the time when we're being asked to ask for help. Like, we're being asked to open, and look how many people don't. Still, even with everything going on, I think the spirit world's the same.
The spirit world is so different. Yeah, you know, for them, time is not like we have time, all of it. But the thing is, there are so many people kicking down those realm doors right now because of what they see on TV. They all think, oh, well, I can get a black shirt and a recorder and I'm an investigator, you know, and they're going to go be Zach Bagans on, you know, and challenge spirits. Well, you know, you just can't do that, because if you challenge a spirit, they just might give you what you want, which might not really be what you want. You know, if they say, you know, well, then hit me or this, that, you know, they just might do that and you won't like the outcome, you know. So you really do have to know what you're doing before you even attempt to go into this field. Can't have the fear, but you have to have a healthy fear. You know, so you need to be aware. You need
Well,
to
I think
have
respect.
senses clear. Respect is utmost. Intent is utmost. You know, you're going in there with intentions of communication, not going in there kicking the door down, telling them, dance for me or hit my partner or sketch or throw this or knock on it. You know, you don't demand, you know, communicate.
It's like walking
have
into
a
somebody's house.
Exactly.
It's like walking into somebody's house. You don't go into your neighbor's house and go, hey, I want this done and do this. You walk into somebody's house, you, hi, this is nice to meet you. You have to, you know, it's just, like you said, respect. You know, if you treat people nicely, then what makes the difference with treating spirit any different?
Well, it's to remember too, like some spirits are trapped in a time like they're where they died, and so life was different then. So
Right.
for
And they don't
example,
understand all these lights and
they're
things
like,
that you're
what's
bringing in
going on
there. Yeah.
here? Like for example, like in my house is on a property in Texas that has had a lot of supernatural activity, and they actually had it on one of the shows, on the TV shows.
Yeah.
um, you can probably feel it as I'm talking about it. So
Yeah, I
this
did.
land has a lot of energy. It has a lot of ancestral indigenous people, and also settlers who came in and had conflicts with the indigenous people, and also like lynchings, like people that were really racist and did lynchings. So there's all kinds. Like this land right here is like just packed with trauma that is unprocessed. So what I did when I came in is I started learning how to talk with, you know, the energies that were here, that were present, and make peace. It's like, okay, you may not understand what's going on right now. I'm in a different space and time, and in this space and time I claim dominion over this space. So if you want to
Right.
be in this space when I'm in it, then you need to be respectful of me and my family and not try to
Right.
scare my kids. So that was part of like the agreement there. We had to kind of, you know, it's taken a lot of effort and a lot of time.
That's exactly it. That's what I'm saying about being like a
Yeah.
counselor, because you got to find out what is going on with that spirit,
And
what is
honor
going
them.
on with, yeah, and what's going on with the person that is in that space right now.
And it's
You
like
know,
every month, like every
bring
new
them
moon,
together.
every full moon, I like when we do our fire ceremonies, I'm out there like saying, okay, we welcome you to the fire to get healing energy. We welcome you now, spirits of the land, to get energy from the fire. We honor you. And now we've given you this, okay? And now we ask you to respect us again and, you know, like maintain
Exactly.
our boundaries. Like, don't freak my
Yeah.
kids out, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know, like.
Exactly. And you know, and I'll do the same. I'll go in and I'll say, okay, you know, once you find out, the investigation could take a year, it could take 2 months, it could take a week. You know, you don't know. You can get all your information because the spirit might not want to shut up, but people might not want to shut up. So you get all your information, you basically know what's going on. You say, all right, hey, look, this spirit wants the second floor, you know, bedroom left alone. Please don't rip that wallpaper off. All right, can you just live with that wallpaper? Is that okay with you? And then the person will be like, yeah, okay, I can live with that. And then everything's harmonious again. It could be something just that stupid and that simple. You know, but it could be something that's really dramatic, like, this is my house and no one is going to live in this house no matter what you do. And you try to get, you know, either, you know, exercise that spirit and this and that, or it could be like you said, you know, some of these indigenous people just will not give up that realm, or they're that powerful, or they're whatever.
They're very powerful. I believe me, I had one in my house who's extremely powerful, but it was also here to teach me, because that is the path I'm walking. Like, I'm walking the path of indigenous medicine, right? So in a way, he's a teacher of mine. And there was one moment when we had conversation with him and he was saying, you asked me to be here. This is a soul agreement. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you're really harsh right now. You know, like your energy is like really scary, you know? And
Right.
so we had to, because this is about also like just respecting power, because power, and some of these indigenous people, they know how to maintain themselves in between the realms if they've gotten to that place of wisdom, right? And inner power.
Right.
So
Right.
they don't die the way, you know, like they stay, their spirit stays intact with their wisdom through.
Right. So they were a very powerful person when they were alive.
Yes,
and
this one in particular.
And they're staying with that, you know, whether
Yes.
they're a highly respected member,
Mhm.
chief, or whatever it is, you know, this is a respect, you know, that's tough to get rid of. And you can maintain.
Well, you got to honor it too. Like, there's a
And,
lot
yeah.
you can learn, right? And
respect
so
that. Yeah, exactly.
it's been a negotiation process.
Yeah, you can learn so much from them.
Yeah.
It's beyond, you know.
And when you
And,
come to
like,
peace, finally, like, there's a big negotiation that happens. And because I had lineages of medicine people that are alive now working with me, right, then that eased the way, because you know, we're still learning. I think, like, you're
Always.
negotiating.
Oh, yes.
We're still learning.
Always.
And I think Western culture is still learning. You know, like, we just don't get it the way that indigenous people get it. And so the ancestors are always here. Like, you have to honor your ancestors.
Yeah.
And
well, we got so far away from that natural connection, and, you know, into the earth and to Mother Nature, because, you know, we're industrial revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're getting back to Mother Nature.
Yeah, and
So-
we get fascinated through this little tunnel that you know, like through the tarot that Mama D does, you know, through like this idea of we're all enticed by this. So how do you help to unfold this for other people too? Because like Mama D, like when you do tarot card readings for people, you don't know who's exactly coming in the room, right, to support them.
No, usually when when a client calls and books me, my way of working, now everybody works differently, but my way of working is like you might have 101 questions in your mind, and I keep saying, just I want you to verbalize one. Just it has to come out, because that way you're unlocking all the little hidden passages in your mind. You're allowing spirit to connect. And I had a woman once, actually it was I had a woman once book me, and she said, "Do you mind if I bring my friend?" I was like, "Nope." Never had two people at the same time. So I said, "Do you want them separately, or do you?" She goes, "No, I wanted to stay in the room with me." I was like, "Okay, fine." I did the friend first because that's the way they wanted it, and I did my main reader, main lady, and I was giving her this information, and what I was getting was she wasn't taking it, but her friend was sitting there going, "Wait a minute, you remember when?" And so she would, because this woman had her mind focused on one thing. She had that one question, but it wasn't even a question that she answered, that she asked. It was something else that she had in her mind. She wanted to connect with her brother, but I didn't know. And the thing was, the day that she came to me, I said, "You know what?" I said, "Today is the International Day of Hugs." And like, I'm a hugomaniac. And she goes, "As you're saying that, I'm feeling the hug." I said, "I know there's somebody here that's hugging you. And I can't tell you who it is." I said, "But it's somebody you wanted to connect with." And she's like, "Oh my God." She says, "All I ever wanted was to connect with my brother." I said, "Well, unless you verbalize, unless you open that door, allow the spirit as you got to kind of like make a phone call to spirit, say, 'Hey, I would like to.'" Doesn't guarantee that you're going to get to talk to them. But if you don't make that phone call, you never know what's going to happen. But she
That's so
left
true. They
my,
might be busy.
yeah, she left my office. She was in tears. That was the first day I said, "Okay, I'm going to have to invest in boxes of Kleenex." But you never know. Like there are mediums out there and psychics out there that will say, "Yes, I can call on, you want to speak to Uncle George? I'll get you Uncle George." I can't guarantee that. Now, maybe when, a couple more decades of practice and work and everything else, I'll get there. But right now, I was like, let's just get whoever wants to have their message. Because like I said in the beginning, we may want a whole bunch of stuff. We may want to speak to my mom, my dad, my uncle, my whatever. But, grandma has this message that she wants to get to you. So you get what you need. You don't always get what you want. And it ends up working out in the end.
And she steps in the front because she's like, "Hey, I'm here." And I've had that happen where I've talked to a psychic looking for information about some things and how to deal with situations. And like, I wanted to talk to my dad, and my dad was there. He's hanging out, but somebody else wanted to stand there. Like, "I want to talk to you," like, "You talk to him later. Right now, he talks to you all the time. I have something to say to you, and you need to open to me." And because that's the thing, if we have to invite our ancestors. We have to say, "I welcome my ancestors to support me. I welcome," and if you don't welcome certain people, then you need to specify who you do welcome. Like, say you have a grudge or something and you just don't want to, then you got to say who you do, right? And be clear about that.
Yeah, but you got to remember that even if you have a grudge with well, say Uncle George, I don't want to talk to him because he was a butthead back in the day. Okay,
he might not be a butthead now.
That's the thing. You have to allow them. See, when I have a session, I make sure that I connect with my family, my heart, my blood, and my soul. Because even though I may not like Uncle George may want to come in to speak to me and say, "Look, I was an idiot." To say it nicely, I was an idiot. And I want to apologize for it. And it's spirit, in many respects, spirit has things to finish. And they may say, "Okay, I need to apologize." It's like the 12-step program. I think it's in healing of addiction. Spirit might have their own form of 12-step. And one of them is apologizing, making right what their mistake is, or fixing something that, or fixing something that they forgot to fix when they, it's like, I forgot to tell Gina where I put the will.
Yep.
You're like,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. My husband was pointing things out to me, my late husband,
Mm-hmm.
when he passed away. He saved me from a fire. He helped me find his wedding ring that I lost. And, all those, I have these stories are in a book,
Yeah. He sent you a Valentine's Day gift this past year, remember?
What was it?
I think it was Valentine's. You got something in the mail, something about a diamond pendant that was sent to your old address that you never changed. This was just like out of nowhere, but it was sent to your old address. It was sent to you here, but it was to your husband. And I was like, dude, seriously, that, if I remember correctly,
Yep,
that was
that's right.
Valentine's.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God, I can't even believe that. Yeah, Mark, my late husband was so large in life. I mean, he really was such a character. When he walked into a room, I mean, he was tall, blonde, and gorgeous, and these beaming blue eyes. And if he didn't have every woman in the world, falling at his feet, he wasn't happy. All right, but but he could do that
He's
just
a
by
man.
looking at you, and he had this look about him. But he just really was. He was so larger than life. And then he passed suddenly. He had a heart attack, and boom, gone. And but he, oh my God, the first time I went to a psychic, went with my friend, this guy Gary McKinstry, unbelievable psychic, and my late husband came through, and he says to me, well, I have to start with you. I'm not going to go with my friend yet. He says, first of all, you've got two huge bright angels with you, and it's almost blinding. When you walked in the door, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So, but he said you have an entourage with you, which was my husband and his entourage, because he couldn't be alone in life. He can't be alone in death. He has a whole bunch of people with him all the time. So he sits down, and he's like, he said he's barefoot and he's spreading his toes, which is what he used to do, because we used to go to the beach, and he would get sand in his toes, and he hated that. And he'd be putting powder on his toes to get the sand away from his toes. He was always doing that. It was like, and he could separate his toes. And then he says, he said that he has something really serious to tell you. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And the guy says, well, he's telling me that you girlied up his living room. I almost died, because now I'm an interior designer, decorator, right? My entire house, I did so much stuff. I mean, I had faux painting and murals, and I paint tiles over here, and all this stuff everywhere. And then I built, actually was my final project for interior design school, was the addition that I actually put on my house. Everyone's doing these mock things. I'm doing a real project. I'm building it and everything, right? But it was beige walls. And he told me, just please don't touch these walls. Can I just have this one room? Please don't do this room. So after he died, I full painted the whole thing. I mean, ceiling. It was, 20 by 20 vaulted ceilings, everything. Full painted the whole thing, put a border around it, all this stuff. And whenever he said you girlied up my living room, I almost died. I was like, oh my God, yep. And then he started with all kinds of other stuff, so then I knew how much, in fact, that Mark was with me, and he told me all kinds of things, and how he was so nervous about what's going to happen now, because he's watching me. I have to fight everybody, because like we had a partnership, besides the marriage, we had business. So like, I hate when I do that with the microphone. I was a designer, so I would design a thing. He would go in, he's a builder, he'd build it. I'd go in, I'd finish it, and I would paint it, or I would decorate it, or faux paint it, or murals, or whatnot. Like I'd be painting the butterflies that are behind you on the walls, things like that. And then I had a cleaning business. So the cleaning business would come in and clean it all up. And then he had the trucking company with all the trash, with all the trucks. So they would come and get the trash. It was just like a perfect partnership. So he was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to make it on my own, because half of the team is gone, which was difficult. But I did it. I was doing it before him, and I do it after him, but trying to get him to understand that, So he's still playing that role of caretaker, trying to take care of you, even after he's passed on. So a lot of times, people get so nervous about their loved ones hanging out, and it's like, well, sometimes it's kind of for the both of you. Like at first you need it, for them to be there, because, oh my God, I can't live without you. And then you finally start getting on, and then it's like, well, they can't live without me, so from the spirit. So it's like, then you got to come to that conclusion, like, okay, well, I can let you go now. and I really did try to do that with him, although he's not as prevalent in my life anymore, but he does make himself known.
Yep.
Here and there still, and 1111 was our number, and every once in a while, things like that will come up if it's a whole bunch. I'll be like, these are signs. He's trying to get in touch with me about something. So then I'll ask, and then I'll get my answer.
Beautiful. Yeah. Seeing the signs and then doing the inquiry to ask the questions, that's really the pathway, right? And paying attention to the little tells that your body gives you that, hey, there's somebody in the room, or there's somebody here, or there's a message waiting for me. And to know that, I love how I used to think that I was so alone all the time. And now that I know what I know, I'm like, I'm never alone. It was, somebody watching me. And not only watching me, but they know all my thoughts, everything, because they're psychic. So they can, once you're in the spirit realms, you're in the psychic realm. So you know everything that somebody's thinking.
Right. So keep clear.
It could be scary.
Thoughts. Clear thoughts.
It's a really good encouragement to be doing your personal mastery and
right.
working through those thoughts.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, yes, there is someone always watching. So, it's good for them people to know and understand that, maybe it'll deter some bad actions, but I doubt it.
Well, is there anything else that either one of you want to share to kind of inspire our listeners, or, to take their own journey and to deepen into this space of discovery?
Well, I'm gonna clear up a little something. In the beginning, you said I was Reiki level 1 and 2. I did that with one gentleman, David, and then his wife took over, and I'm now a Reiki master. But a lot of people don't understand, like you said, you're a healer, don't understand the way of healing. I connected with butterflies because I sent healing to a young boy, excuse me, in Australia. And people have issues, like, I can't see spirit, I can't feel, when energy healing is like, how are you going to do energy healing? I'm here, you're there, right? And this little boy was 18 months old. He had kidney issues from birth, and he despised, he was 18 months old, he hated needles. So his mother and I were talking, and I said, okay, when it's happening, when he's sitting down on your lap and the nurses are about to tell him that I sent him something, because I would talk with them on FaceTime. I said, tell him Mama D sent him something, but he has to be very, very quiet. And all he has to do is move his head very slowly. I said, and I told her what I was doing. And she said, okay. And she came back the next day, and she said, he sat there for the very first time. He sat there and knew that I had sent him something. So nurses were taking his blood, and it didn't affect him whatsoever. What I do is when I send energy, I send it through butterflies. And he saw at 18 months old, he goes, flutter by. He could see the butterflies in the room. So it goes to prove that we may not be able to see it. We may not be able to feel it 100%, but you do feel it. Same as goes for spirit. You may not be able to see it, touch it, but spirit is there. And you may just sit there and go, oh, I wish, stop wishing, have faith. And it doesn't have to do with religion. It has to do with a belief. You believe in that it's going to happen. So have faith that what you're doing, the stuff that you're going through now, there will be a reason behind it.
Beautiful. What a gorgeous message. Thank you.
Yeah, we always grow from what we don't know. Yep. Once you finally learn it. But what I'd like to say is a lot of people look at the paranormal realm, and this too, the metaphysical realm, as scary, because television, what they're watching, the shows, they're all deemed around this negative stuff. Right? First and foremost, that negative stuff is the minority, not the majority of things that happen. So that very, very, very rarely happens. So people have to lose that fear, have a healthy fear of the paranormal realm, but not a gut wrenching, oh my God, if I have a ghost in my house, they're going to kill me, or throw something at me or hurt me, because it's usually not the case. Like I said, it's maybe someone that just doesn't want you to take the wallpaper down, or find something. So basically just don't, you got to trust your instincts, trust your gut, your intuitive thoughts, because those are direct lines from your spirit guides, your
dream team.
Dream team, for, whatever it is that you feel is beyond you, but all those intuitive thoughts, like when you're late for work, and you can't find your keys, that's usually a reason, and then 5 minutes will go by and then your keys are right where they're supposed to be, and then you leave the house and there's an accident down the street. Those things do happen all the time. So trust your instinct, trust your intuitive thoughts, trust your gut, always.
Yeah, and don't always wait for the big, like you're asking for something. Don't always wait for the big ta-da. It's like the smack upside the back of the head. The little ones are more important. Like you can be asking for like, oh, Mom, how, I really miss you and I want to, wish you were here so I could give the good news to. And you're not thinking of it, but you're driving to work the next minute and you hear the song that would remind you of her. But because you're waiting for like, angels to fall from the sky, you're not paying attention to the little things like the radio song, the song on the radio, or the smell of the flower that she used to love the most. So it's not always the big things to look for, but pay attention to the little ones.
Yeah, it's hard to manifest those big miracles from the spirit realm, so like just showing up as a full-on blown angel, like I only know a couple of people who have had that experience. That's not a common experience. It's much more common that you get a song or a little feather. Like I walked out yesterday and there was a feather neatly laid right on the mat, like just like perpendicular, just so perfectly laid. And I was like, okay, how did that? How likely is that?
And then people they just won't pay attention to that. And those are the things you got to look for.
But I always pick it up and I go,
yeah,
I know,
yeah,
I see. I pick it up, I put it on my altar. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Yes. That's another thing too. Thank you. Thank you to the spirit realm. Be, grateful, be gracious, be respectful, all those things. But yeah, the little signs, even, change, quarters, dimes, nickels, all of a sudden laying around, they have meanings, and you can actually go online, if something is happening and you don't understand what it is, Google it. Yeah. We have use the technology that's at our fingertips. So there's always something. If an animal keeps appearing, Google it. Fox is my spirit
like fox
guide, right?
I'll tell you, I resisted the fox for so long, Gina. I was like, I don't know why this tribe, because we had our gathering when we first began our 1-year program together, this group of 30 people. We're members of the Power Path, and there's like every tribe gets their own animal spirit guide in this program. And so we're in there and we're like taking a journey, to like see who our animal spirit guide is. And I'm hoping for like owl, because I love owl, and I'm like, or jaguar or something like that. And then like they're like, we're seeing fox, and I'm like, fox, what are you talking about? And I was so judgmental about it.
Oh my god!
And only like 6 months in did I realize, like it took me literally 6 months to put the pieces together. I was like, oh, wait a second. I remember seeing this really big fox when I visited my cousin one year, like right as I was having a big transformational year. There was a huge fox that was running right next to me. I was like, and I remember this other time when I had this business called Foxy Fusions. Yeah.
Fox has been in your life for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the fox is the guardian between this realm and the next.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are the ones that are on that fence, So if you want,
and even when I look at myself right now, I'm like, oh yeah, fox is totally in there. Yeah. Come on. It's so 100%, obvious.
100%.
Magical, mythical being. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Got my foxy tail right here. I pick people all the time. I'm like, ding, ding.
And there it is.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Power to the fox.
Power to the fox. So whatever your spirit ally is, may you be as in harmony with your spirit guide as I am. Gina and I share in the fox, Mama D and I share in the butterfly, and whatever it is that you can feel the camaraderie of it. We didn't even, when we met, we were like, wait a second, you were like family.
It's like soul sisters, right? Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't think to put the dots, to connect the dots until it's just sort of up there and in your face. It's just like, okay, well, we have a new guest coming. Okay, it's Carrie Hummingbird. Oh, I like the hummingbird. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you came on and you had the butterfly, and then you had the fox, and it's like, okay, this is meant to be.
Exactly.
Sometimes Yeah, sometimes you just have to wait to connect the dots. It's not always going to be right there in front of you. So yeah, our dots connected.
So how do people connect dots to you two individually? Because I know that they can watch the Fox Den. They can totally check out the Fox Den, and I'll put a link to that podcast in the show notes. But how else can they connect with you individually to do the work that you each do in the world?
Well, for me, it's simple enough. You just go to Facebook and go Darlene Mama D Angel, and just put Mama D, and generally I pop up there somewhere. Can't miss all this red hair.
That's awesome. And people can connect with you for a tarot card reading or other kind of spiritual reading.
For a card reading. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's if you wanted to go on a ghost hunt, we have Ghostly Excursions, which is ghostlyexcursions.com. We do Vortex Ghost Gear, where we make all the paranormal equipment. That's vortexghostgear.com. It's very simple. You can find me if you look up Parafox. You put in Parafox, I should come up. Between the Fox Den radio show, which we do every week, we have the Fox Den page. I have the Parafox page. I have my personal page, GB Investigations, which is a team that I had a long time ago, but I keep the page and I just share things to it. But there's some old cool information on there, old cool videos and whatnot. But yeah, Gina Bengtson, Bengtson. And it's actually supposed to be Bengtson, and I don't even say it that way. But that was, my late husband's name. So, but you can find us. And oh
yeah, we're all over Facebook. You'll find us. We're not difficult.
No,
we don't hide.
No,
some people would like us to, but no.
Especially Mama, she looks so innocent.
Well, there's an element of innocence and there's an element of mischief in all of us. So we're going to give kisses. So, hey, everybody, listen, if you love this interview, the way you can help us the most is to share it out, because listen, we've had a beautiful conversation here. We've explained why it's not scary, the paranormal and the mystical and all of that, and that this is actually here to help us, and don't be afraid of it. And, get a guide to navigate that space if you're concerned about things, just get a guide. That's it. And so share it out, share it out, like it, subscribe, go on YouTube, iTunes, put a comment, put your 5-star rating, and then share it out to your social media so we can get more exposure and get this message out. So, because this is the awakening, the more we realize we're not alone, the better it gets. So we're going to give kisses. Yes. You guys want to help me give some kisses to everybody? Yes. Okay, here come your kisses, everybody. You get 3 sets of kisses today.
Love you all.
Love you all. We'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.